Really what we're talking about here, and it leads into our next piece, is improvement systems and how you improve. And as we all know, any improvement system worth its salt exists for one reason and one reason only, to help organizations better serve customers. And I don't think we can ever lose sight of that very important fact. And it is because customers are the raison d'etre of quality that our guest on today's show has quickly become one of my favorite writers. Annette Gleneicki is the Director of Customer Experience Management Strategy at Confirmit, and her latest article, What is the Third Rail of Customer Experience?, appeared in Monday's issue of Quality Digest Daily. So, joining us now to talk about this idea and the care and feeding of customers in general is Annette Gleneicki. Annette, welcome to the show.
Good morning. I'm so happy to join you on this topic. This is a great topic. I'll take any chance to spread the word about the importance of focusing on the customer experience.
Yeah, I think we're the same way. I think we all agree that customers are definitely where it's at, and it's why we all do what we do. Well, let's start a little bit with some definitions. Anyone out there who maybe doesn't know the reference, fill us in on the meaning of the third rail. What does that mean?
Well, the third rail comes from, obviously, the railway systems, and that's the rail that supplies electricity, to the trains. And it's the one that, it's always the one that we see in movies. It's like, oh, don't touch the third rail, you're going to fry. So it's a very charged, in this world, a very charged topic, right? So any topic that is potentially dangerous or could lead to career death or just, being banished to the corner and never to speak to you again is a topic that's referred to as a third rail. It's really used a lot here in the U.S. In politics, and I think Social Security, for example, is a topic that is considered a third rail topic. So, and I thought it was just an interesting approach to looking at customer experience, because we do have a lot of topics in this space, in this effort, in these strategies that people don't want to talk about, don't want to address.
Yeah, they don't want to address them, but I think we all understand that they're important, because obviously, third rail means something that's important. A third rail isn't something that's unimportant, yet you don't talk about it. It's stuff that needs to be talked about but isn't. So in your piece, what I loved about your piece, which I thought was great, was you pass along the thoughts of a lot of leading customer experience practitioners like yourself about what they believe constitutes the third rail in this field of customer performance and customer excellence. So which of those statements really resonated most with you?
I like the one by James Lawther. He and I, for whatever reason, always seem to click. When he writes a blog post, I always go, aha, I wish I would have thought it, to write that, because we always seem to click. And he really had a great topic for his piece in there, and it's about the executives. And I'll just real quickly read what he said, because it really, brings home the point about executives and the topic of, the importance of the executives to actually executing your strategies to, facilitate a great customer experience and all of that. And so he basically said that, the executives are the third rail because they want to focus on looking good themselves, about their own prestige, about meeting their targets, about making sure they get their bonuses and their, BMWs, and nobody has the guts to go and say, hey, executives, you're the problem. And as a matter of fact, one of the comments that he made on a previous blog post of mine where I had written about how to get executive buy-in, his comment on that blog post was, maybe it's time for some new executives. So if they don't get it, or if that's not a conversation that you can have with them about the importance of customer experience and their involvement in making sure that that happens, maybe it's time for some new executives. So I thought that was really clever.
So, Annette, let me ask you a question, and let me do it in a way that connects something else that you wrote for us last month. You wrote an article entitled, What Trumps a Great Customer Experience? And you wrote very persuasively, backed up with some studies, that the customer experience is really enhanced dramatically by the employee experience.
That's right.
And one of my favorite local Seattle businessmen is Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, and he wrote in there that he said, if people relate to the company they work for, if they form an emotional tie to it and buy into its dreams, they will pour their hearts into making it better.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how does the employee experience relate to or connect to this idea of a third rail for the customer experience?
Well, I think, in my experience, and I've been in this industry, voice of the customer and focusing on improving customer experiences and employee experiences for over 20 years. And, my experience has always been that when we talk to clients about the customer experience, we always say, hey, listen, you've got to listen to your employees. You've got to improve the employee experience, because happy employees, and there's research out there that shows that, happy employees equals, engaged employees, engaged customers, successful business. And it's always been, we'll listen to the employees another time. It's not our focus right now. We'll do that later. And really, what's ended up happening, here we are 20 plus years later, and we're seeing research from companies like Gallup who say that employee engagement is at an all-time low. And, so that's a problem. And the other problem is, companies think that, I think there's still issues around what does employee engagement mean. First of all, what is employee engagement? And then, making that connection to how it drives a great customer experience. And a lot of companies think that employee engagement means, hey, we've thrown a party, we've got free food for you, we've given you health insurance, you've got vacation, what more do you need? Why aren't you happy, And there's more to it than that. Employee engagement is really a two-way street. The conditions have to be right, the stars have to be aligned, but it's not impossible, right? You've got to make sure you hire the right people, and you've got to make sure that your organization facilitates the employee becoming engaged. And a lot of that has to do with making sure that they understand their contribution, letting them know that their contributions matter, communication. We could have a whole conversation around, employee engagement, but I think that's a big part of it, is really companies not really understanding, what employee engagement really is and what it means and how to achieve that, and then making that connection to the customer experience.
Annette, it's always struck me that people in business many times look at their customers in very much the wrong way. I mean, essentially dollar signs, whether it's commissions
Yes.
or revenue for the company. But I think if you have the right kind of relationship, maybe you agree with us, if you have the right kind of relationship with your customers, they can be a lot more than that. For instance, they can really be your best possible critic of your process, kind of like the canary in the coal mine for what you're doing. So do you think there's certain reluctance in some circles to look at customers in that way?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think we see that a lot of companies are listening to customers. There's some Gartner research that's been out there for forever that basically says that 98% of companies listen to their customers, and I think that's the start, right? You can go into any store, any event, any whatever, and you'll get a post event or post transactional survey asking you for your feedback. Some of that is lip service. Actually, a lot of it is lip service, because they're, collecting feedback. I call it collecting feedback, just like, we collect stamps, right? Put it in a book and put it away. The important thing is if we're listening to our customers, that we actually do something with it, right? The action is just as important, if not more important, than actually listening to our customers. So I think people, for the most part, understand that we need to listen to our customers. They don't put necessarily as much weight on it as they should in terms of turning that into action and into process improvement. The other thing is that, going back to your question, is that if you have those raving fans, and they complain or they call customer service or they give you bad marks or whatever, really, if you've got that level of customer engagement, your customers really want you to succeed. I don't think any customer wants, their favorite brand to fail, right? So they will provide feedback, and they will do that in an effort to help the brand succeed. So I think that's an important thing that we need to remember. The flip side of that is that there's still some people out there who think customers don't know what they want, right? There's the old Ford quote, right? That if I'd have asked them what they wanted, they'd have said they wanted faster horses, right? So there's still that segment of the businesses out there that think that customers don't really know what they want, and we don't need to listen to them. So.
And in many ways, in the high-tech field, that's particularly true. The late Steve Jobs,
Yep.
He was famous for saying, "Look, customers don't know what they want until we show them."
Absolutely.
And really talking about the role of innovation, and we're the ones that are the forward-looking ones, and the way it's said is presented, very clearly with a lot of ego behind it.
Yep. Yep. And you know what's so funny is going back to Ford's quote is that the automotive manufacturers are huge on listening to their customers, right? They are, you know, I started my career in this space at JD Power and Associates, and they really, really want to know what their customers think. So it's an interesting flip there from what Ford had said. So,
Sure.
But I agree with you. Steve Jobs is probably the classic modern day example of that.
Well, Annette, you know, we could talk about this topic, I know, for a lot longer than the 10 minutes we have today. So I want to definitely invite you back to join us again. But thank you for providing some really great articles recently, not just this first one, but not just this latest one, but many for the last couple of weeks. And we want to continue to have you on the show. So we'll look forward to having you again back soon.
Thank you. I'd love to join again. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Annette.
Thanks
Thank you.
again, Annette.
Bye.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Good stuff there, Jeff. I think I think that's why we're all in business, right? Is to understand customers and understand how to serve them better, right?
Yeah, and I think that Annette's point was particularly strong. I wish I could sort of bottle it up and use it as a magic potion. I mean, I've had so many people say when, you know, they're trying to improve their customer service strategy, when you talk about getting together some type of focus group, you said, well, why would my customers give us the time? And what Annette said was very clear. They want you to succeed. They know your success is going to be in their favor.
Yeah, absolutely. And good customers know that, and good companies know that they have to be drawing that kind of information out of their customers. It's part of their culture. And using that as a segue, let's talk a little bit more about culture and about changing.